The meeting is being recorded, as you can see, and let's start then with the first presenter. The title of the paper submitted is ColombiaClass, Proposal for a BIM Classification System for Public Buildings in Colombia. Presenter or co-authors have been María del Pilar Revuelta Mendoza, Nelly Paola García López, and Luis Arturo Salazar Fica. I don't know who will present today. I guess María del Pilar Revuelta Mendoza is with us. You can start presenting.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, we hear you. Yes, also online.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Nelly Garcia, Luis Salazar, and me, Pilar Revuelta, create the ColombiaClass, a proposal for a BIM classification system for a public building in Colombia. So, the construction industry plays an essential role in the Colombian economy because it represents the 6.9% of Colombia gross domestic product, but the 40% of the public works project during 2019 present delays, and one of the main causes was the low productivity. For that reason, government has identified BIM to improve the productivity and information management. But also, we have another problem that is there is no norm that standardize the construction items or the budget structure for a public work. For that, each company creates its own budget structure, and this makes it difficult for a public entity to carry out project control and compare scopes and pricing between bids. So we think that this problem can be solved with a classification systems that standardize and then automate the bidding and control processes. But also in Colombia need a classification system that can support a BIM interoperability environment. Why? Because since 2020, the construction licenses can be submitted in IFC format. So the question is, can Colombia implement an existing BIM classification? And the answer is no, because we have three drawbacks. The first one, the classification system needs to be in Spanish, and also need to consider a specific linguistic and construction practices. Because, for example, in Colombia, we are still use a caisson as a popular deep foundation, and also the partition walls are typical in clay masonry, and we have some structure in a special wood like wadua or bamboo. Okay, according to our methodology, it is divided in three parts. In the first one, we analyze the existing classification system, and we found that the Chilean one is the closest to the Colombian context. So we took it as a basis. Then in the second phase, we use the Chilean standard as a reference to classify the level of the ColombiaClass. Then we reviewed some of Colombian technical documents to validate and adjust the naming of the ColombiaClass. And last one, we check some official budget to assure that the ColombiaClass is complete. And the last phase was the validation, and we used the Delphin method, and we check the first and the second level using a top-down approach. And we made two panels of experts, the first one to validate the naming, and the second one to validate the scope, the hierarchy, and the order. So if we deepen in the development phase, we have this. First one, we use the NCH 1156, that is the Chilean standard for the item designation, as a basis for the ColombiaClass. And why we do that? Because Chile is a pioneer in the region in the BIM implementation in public works, and also the Colombian BIM strategy has a Chile as a reference. Then we check the naming and the completeness of the Colombian class, analyzing 7 groups of technical regulation with the object to find the most suitable name. And finally, we think that a classification system should not be limited to 3D, but should also be used for schedule and cost. So we analyze 33 official budget and validate that the preliminary Colombian class was 100 in line with the scope of each of them budgets. So, to assure the completeness of the Colombian class, we analyzed these official budgets, and the selection criteria to choose it were: the first one was the type of the public building. We check 13 types of public building. The second one criteria was the contracted entity, and we reviewed 25 state entities, and the last criteria was the geographical location, and we checked 5 of the 6 regions in Colombia. Only San Andres and Providencia Island missed. So, as a result, the Colombian class has the following coding. Okay. The first part represents the chapter. The second one represents the subchapter. The third one, the section, and the last one, the element. And the number increased by 10 to 10. And the level 1 is composed of 21 chapters, shows in this table. Okay. According to the analysis, to show that a Colombian class is not a translation of the Chilean standard, we compare both classification system, and we can see that the level 1 of the Chilean standard went from 9 sections to 21 chapters in the Colombian class. And in the level 3, we have a 66% of items modified. Here, we can see a comparison between Colombian class and one of the most famous BIM classification systems. And if we want to classify the clinical gases, we can do it just using the Colombian class, because the Women class don't have this classification, and Uniclass and Uniformat has like a similar or closer classification, but not this specific classification. Another example is if we want to classify the escalator or the mechanical stair, we can use the Colombian class or the Gubin class, but we don't have this specific classification in the Uniformat or Uniclass. Maybe we can classify it like internal or external stair. And here we have 2 more examples to show the completeness of the Colombian class for the actual necessity in the construction industry. Okay, as a conclusion, Colombian class is a BIM classification system designed for building projects that serves as a standard for the definition, hierarchization of building construction items for public building in Colombia. And as a future works, the first one, future works, is to expand Colombian class to level 4. The second one is develop a case study using bottom-up approach to ensure interoperability, data exchange, and cost and time analysis. The third one, review and adjust Colombian class with the ISO 12006. And the last one, expand Colombian class to support assess management phase and infrastructure project. So thank you. If you want to continue, if any of one want to continue the development of the Colombian class, please contact us. And if you have some question, any questions, sorry.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pilar Revuelta, for your very nice presentation. I guess I will pass the floor to the audience, maybe first of the auditorium, and maybe to the people who is following us online. So any question in the auditorium? Maybe using the microphone is necessary.
Yeah, there is one question.
Right.
Hi. Do you think that the use of ColombiaClass, of this new ColombiaClass, will help with the implementation of BIM in Colombia? Is it an important tool to achieve that goal?
Yes, the purpose of the Colombian class is to help the government implementation of the BIM in the public works, or just in the public works. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other question?
Hi.
Hi.
My question is if you include, do you include the different words that we use in Colombia in the different regions to define the Colombian class?
Yes, we are here. We analyze different budget, yes, to assure the completeness of the Colombian class, and we check different budget in different region in Colombia. You can see here the map and the different region that we review it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other question in at the audience?
Yeah.
Physical audience?
Excelente presentación. The question is, are you taking into consideration material manufacturers, fabricantes de materiales in these definitions, and do you plan to do so?
In this phase, not, because the Colombian class isn't finished. We just developed this BIM classification system to the level 3, and also missed the development of the level 4. So maybe in that phase we can take into account.
Any other question? Online, the people who is following us online maybe has any question. I have a question myself. Very nice presentations. I like it very much. Congratulations. I wonder if you think there would be a possibility to have some sort of BIM regulation for the whole, maybe Latin America or South America, maybe. Is that a possibility that you can foresee? Because you said you started a little bit considering the Chilean version. So maybe, do you think it's a possibility?
Okay, like we think the possibility to like, I don't know, how can I say that? Here in Colombia, nowadays, we have some degrees that try to standardize the bidding processes. So we want to like engage this Colombian class to that document, that legal document, to make sure that this will be implemented in the Colombia. Yes, I answer your question.
Yes, of course. my idea was more generic. Maybe if this bidding process or if this bidding process was, maybe it can be foreseen beyond the borders of Colombia, let's say, to coordinate maybe more with Chile or with Ecuador or any other country that is surrounding Colombia, and to generate a bigger industry in South America. Do you think that's possible nowadays, or it's a
Yes, can
political
be.
matter?
But in this time is not part of our scope.
Yeah, clear. Very clear. Thank you very much. Is there any other question? Okay, then we will move forward to the next presenter.